Hi guys, and welcome back to my channel. Today we'll be speaking about the difference between the gerund, participle I, and the verbal noun. As we have already spoken about the gerund, the infinitive, and the participle separately in detail, and you can watch those videos following the links in the description down below. This lesson I wanted to dedicate to the comparison of some of these phenomena because I know that some students struggle with telling them apart. Why does that happen? Well, because the phenomena we'll be talking about are formed in the same way. They are all formed with the help of the suffix ing. When we speak about non-finites, we often speak about the infinitive versus the so-called ing form. And this is because both the gerund and participle I are formed this way. But what exactly is this ing form? The so-called ing form often stands for the present participle or participle I. Some authors would set the ing form against the infinitive when they contrapose the gerund and the infinitive. This approach is misleading though, because the so-called ing form can be either a gerund or a participle I or a noun that was created by adding the suffix ing to a verb. The same suffix but different phenomena. Therefore, it is crucial to be able to distinguish among these three. But how do we tell one from the others? Obviously, the form of the verb by itself won't help us understand what we are dealing with. Let's take the word cleaning, for example. Is it a gerund or a participle? Is it a verb at all? It's possible that it's a noun, isn't it? So we need some context to see what this ing form is. When we say it in a sentence, we'll be able to identify its syntactic function, and it is this function that will give us a clue what we're dealing with. The function of this ing form in a sentence determines whether the phenomenon we are dealing with is a gerund, a participle, or a verbal noun. So let us look at some examples. Who does the cleaning? Cleaning is a tiresome activity. And this is an incredibly good cleaning gel. In the first sentence, cleaning is a noun because it is preceded by the article the and functions as the object. In the second sentence, cleaning is a verbal, in particular, the gerund. And in the third sentence, cleaning functions as an adjective that describes the noun gel. And thus, by its function, we can say that this is participle I, because participle I can function as an adjective. Now let's talk about the difference between participle I and the gerund. How can we say whether the ing form we are dealing with is participle I or a gerund? Gerunds are identical to participle I indefinite. Both are formed by adding the suffix ing to the base form of a verb. The difference is, as we already have mentioned, is the role that these non-finites play in a sentence. Gerunds are verbs that are used as nouns. Participle I is a verb that is used as an adjective or an adverb and to form continuous or progressive tenses. Let's see. Elizabeth likes skating. Sleeping well is crucial for your health. In these sentences, we are dealing with gerunds. Living in a hot country, he didn't have any coats or boots. If you have trouble sleeping, contact your doctor. The cat has been sleeping all day. That sleeping cat is so cute. These are participles I. Let's see why. In the first sentence, Elizabeth likes skating. Skating answers the question what and functions as a direct object. And we know that gerunds are verbs that function as nouns. In the second sentence, the same question can be put to the word sleeping. So what? But here it functions as the main noun of the sentence, as the subject of the sentence. Sleeping well is crucial for your health. So obviously our ing forms in these two sentences are gerunds, verbs that function as nouns. Let's look at these participles now. So living in a hot country, he didn't have any coats or boots. Doing what? We're dealing here with a participial phrase that functions as an adverbial modifier of cause. Why didn't he have any coats or boots? Because he lived in a hot country. Let's look at the second sentence. Sleeping answers the same question. Doing what? If you have trouble doing what? So our participle here functions as an adverbial modifier of time. We can paraphrase the sentence using the adverbial clause of time. If you have trouble when you are trying to sleep. In the third sentence, sleeping is participle I because it helps us form present progressive tense, has been sleeping. And in the last sentence, the question that we can put to our ing form is what kind. That sleeping cat is so cute. What cat or what kind of cat is cute? The sleeping one. So it is participle I because this ing form functions as an adjective that modifies the noun cat. This way, analyzing the functions the ing form has in the sentence, we can understand whether we are dealing with a gerund or participle I. Let's take one particular verb, add the ing suffix to it, and see how it can function as different grammar phenomenon in different contexts. Knocking on wood is a widespread superstition. We heard someone knocking at our door. What causes this knocking sound? I guess it's the shatters hitting the wall in the wind. The knocking I heard that night scared me. As I said, we add the same suffix ing to the verb to knock, and what we received are different grammar phenomena. Let's look at the first sentence. Knocking on wood. What are we dealing with here? Knocking is the gerund in this sentence. Why? Because knocking on wood is the subject. So the ing form here functions as a noun. In the second case, knocking at our door is participle I. Why? Because it is a part of a complex object, someone knocking at our door. We know participle I can be a part of a complex object. We heard someone knocking at our door. The third sentence, what causes this knocking sound? Knocking is participle I because it functions as an adjective that modifies the noun sound. What kind of sound? We know that participle I is a verb that functions as an adjective or as an adverb. In the last sentence, though, we are dealing neither with a gerund nor with participle I. The knocking I heard that night scared me. So you see we have the article the that tells us that the word that follows is a true noun. So we are dealing with a verbal noun here that functions as the subject of the sentence. We cannot use any determiners before gerunds. This is not the only difference between a verbal noun and a gerund. Let's talk about this in detail. So how do we tell apart a gerund and a verbal noun? A gerund is a noun that, having derived from a verb, retains a few verbal characteristics. A verbal noun is a noun that has derived from a verb but does not have any verbal characteristics whatsoever. As gerund is a verb, it can be modified by an adverb. A verbal noun is modified by an adjective, like all nouns. Also, a gerund can take a direct object, like verbs do. Verbal nouns, unlike gerunds, cannot take direct objects. Gerunds, in their turn, cannot take plural forms and cannot be preceded by articles. So you see that gerunds only have some of the properties that nouns have, whereas verbal nouns are true nouns and they have all the properties, all the characteristics that nouns have. Let's see. This blood pressure monitor can take multiple readings and report the averages. Readings is a verbal noun here. We see that it is in the plural form. Gerunds cannot be pluralized. The monitoring could be carried out at 4 different levels. Here, monitoring is a verbal noun because it is preceded by the, and gerunds cannot be preceded by any determiners, articles. The business center was constructed on the site of a beautiful old building. Building is a verbal noun because it is preceded by adjectives, and we know that verbal nouns are modified by adjectives. Gerunds are modified by adverbs, not by adjectives, like all verbs. The creaking of the old gate made your blood run cold. The creaking, again, we have the in front of our ing form, so this is a verbal noun and not a gerund. They made a good living by reselling used cars. Again, living is modified by an adjective, not by an adverb. It has the article a in front of it, so obviously we are dealing with a verbal noun and not with a gerund. So, okay, I hope the difference between verbal nouns and gerunds is clear. Now let's look at examples with these three phenomena. We'll try to figure out whether the ing form used in the sentences I'm going to provide you with is a gerund, a participle, or a verbal noun. The video getting the most likes wins the contest. So what is this underlined form here? Is it a gerund? Is it participle one? Is it a verbal noun? This part, getting the most likes, modifies the noun video. It describes what kind of video we are talking about. Getting here is participle one, and the whole thing, getting the most likes, is a participial phrase that modifies the subject. After resting for a while, you will feel much better. So what is resting in this sentence? After resting for a while is a gerund phrase used as the object to the preposition after. Relaxing after work, Axel listened to Mozart. What is relaxing? We are dealing not with one word here, we are dealing with this whole phrase, relaxing after work. And this is a participial phrase that modifies Axel. Doing what? Axel listened to Mozart. Relaxing after work. So relaxing is participle one. The company specializes in efficient heating and ventilation. What is heating? Heating is a verbal noun. It is modified by the adjective efficient. The company specializes in what? In efficient heating. The kids enjoy taking long walks along the seashore. Taking long walks along the seashore is a gerund phrase that functions as a direct object. And taking is the gerund. Going to the office, Udo was rehearsing his speech. We have two ing forms here, going and rehearsing. The first one, going, is a part of a participial phrase that modifies Udo, and the second ing form, rehearsing, is a part of the past progressive tense, was rehearsing. So this is participle one as well. Frida's bad habit is gnawing her nails. Gnawing is a gerund that functions as a part of a compound nominal predicate, is gnawing her nails. Neither Laura nor her boyfriend like cycling. What is cycling here? Cycling is a gerund that is used as a direct object. They like or dislike what? Look, it's starting to snow. The ing form starting helps us form the present progressive tense here. So it's participle one. Smoking is an expensive habit. The ing form functions as the subject of the sentence. We don't see any articles, any adjectives that would tell us that this is a verbal noun, so we are obviously dealing with a gerund. The gerund that is the subject of the sentence. The howling of the wind made chills run down my spine. The article the signals that this is a verbal noun. The howling of the wind is the subject of the sentence. Okay, hopefully with all these examples I managed to illustrate that this ing form can be different phenomena, can play different roles in a sentence. So we should not speak about the ing form versus the infinitive. It's not quite correct, because you see that the ing form in one sentence might be a gerund, and in another sentence it will be participle one, and that will be determined by what function this ing form has in a particular sentence. This was the last lesson in our series of lessons dedicated to non-finite forms of the verb. If I missed something and you have any questions to me, you have some ideas as to what else I can elucidate within this topic, please write them in the comment section down below. Subscribe to this channel, don't forget to share it with those you care for, and see you in the next video.